amazing. I love it. Love it. Well, how do you say it? This is how I'm going to say it. This is no time for coy Christianity. It's no time for timid saints or whispering witnesses. Can't whisper. I have to bring it up a little bit. It's no time for us followers of Christ to tiptoe around the truth, to apologize for our convictions, or to shrink back because we want to just fit in with the cultural melee of the day. The world is screaming its lies, full blast. Turn on MSNBC, CNN, listen to Oprah, you name it. Like, their cuckoo is so out there, so audacious, so bold. They are unapologetic. They're going after ICE agents and you name it. They were protesting in our town this week. You know, if you were driving around the town center, all kinds of nutty stuff. They are unashamed. So the compromised crowd is going to be pressuring us. The spirit of the age is working overtime with its cancel culture megaphones. They're going to do everything they can to muzzle your voice. They're going to try to mute your courage, to cancel your convictions, not theirs, yours. And your convictions that truth matters, that life is sacred, that Jesus is Lord. They don't want to hear it. And if I were them, I wouldn't want to hear it either, because it totally opposes their nuttiness. So they're going to try to shrink your soul down to a very manageable, if you might say, non-threatening size. They don't care if you go to church as long as you don't say anything. They don't mind if you have a Christian ichthus fish sticker on your car as long as you don't mention anything at work. Basically, as long as you're diffused, they don't care, because you're not dangerous. You're not going to make a difference. They're going to threaten, though, if you say something, your platform, your job, your likes, your reputation, anything they can do to try to shut you down. And they're going to do it. But not this year. Not us, not now, not here, not today. You guys are so inspiring to me. You're just getting bolder and bolder, which of course we need in this state. This is not the time to tone it down. If anything, this is the time to turn it up. And I'm not for being audacious or rude, as you know, but we've got to put a little volume to our faith. This is the year to amplify our witness and to refuse to shut up. Put a little fire in our bones and get out there. It's time to actually believe the gospel that we preach, to laugh louder, perhaps to dance freer, to love a little bit wilder. If I could use a metaphor, maybe to paint with brighter colors. Nothing wrong with a little bit of fuchsia, a little magenta to your faith. How about a little chartreuse? Electric blue, laser lemon. How about solar orange or lime punch? Copper flame, neon green, coral burst, teal surge. How about a little lava red to your faith? Well, it's time to live with some vibrancy, what I might just call some saturation to your soul. Beige isn't going to get it done. Vanilla and oatmeal is not going to make it happen. We have to have some substance. We got to speak with clear conviction, season our lives with a little more holy spice, show up with a little more, I don't know, pizzazz, passion, prophetic punch. You choose your word, but no more tiptoeing, no more whispering. This moment in history is not calling for half-hearted disciples. Maybe if we lived in the Bible Belt, you could just go to church and cruise, but we don't live there. We live here in Corinth, Babylon, Rome. You pick it. We need lion-hearted believers here. We talked about that last week, having the courage and boldness of a lion with men and women. Today, the church, the question isn't, will the world try to silence you? That's a given. They're going to try to shush you. Shh. Shh. Not here. No, not in our public schools. Not at the workplace. This is the land of DEI, BLM, CRT, communism, socialism, craziness. You can't have a Bible study here. You can't say that here. They're going to try to do that. It's going to take someone with a little bit of gumption to go, hello, First Amendment, free speech. I can say whatever I want during lunchtime. You're not the boss of me. My faith is not something I put on a shelf for Sunday. It's something I live out every day. And you don't have to like it. But your religion of humanism, of selfishness, is not the religion I follow. So the question isn't, will the world try to silence you or shut you down? That's like the given. The question is, will we let them? Are we going to let them silence us, mute us, water down our thoughts, confine us into such a narrow vertical of Christianity that we're just powerless, deluded? Will we rise? Will we turn up the volume, is what Bartimaeus is going to teach us today, to declare with every breath and every step, every wild, colorful, spicy, spirit-fueled act of faith, that here I am, Lord, send me. Here I am, Lord, unmuted, unafraid, unstoppable, because my God is with me and the truth deserves to be shouted from the rooftops. Workplace, with my family, my kids. I could do it at least with my grandkids on my cul-de-sac. Like, can't do everything, but if God has me somewhere, that somewhere will be represented for Christ. That somewhere will have a voice. That somewhere I'm not going to be muzzled. So I know you guys, you already are ready to put a little bit of roar into your faith, to stand, to be spirited, animated, zeal-soaked, bright-souled, high voltage, wild-hearted. I don't know how to say it, but you're ready, I think, for a louder faith. And we need it. Just because the world is so noisy and so crazy, the cacophony of cuckoo-ness is, we have to match the volume, if not even be louder, and do it with a grace and a truth that's endearing. So today we're taking on Mark 10, verses 46 to 52, a very simple passage about Bartimaeus. A lot of people don't know about Bartimaeus. He's the coolest dude. He's a blind guy in the Bible. The fact that he's named, obviously, in the first century, they remember this guy because they put his name in scripture. He's not just the blind dude. But this is a guy who was, people wanted to silence him. Cancel culture, first century, shut him down. And he just refused to do it. And his faith not only gives him sight, but gives him a real testimony. And so this is a simple passage, just a simple reminder for us that we need to be a Bartimaeus in our culture. Let's read the verses and then we'll unpack them together, starting in Mark 10, verse 46. It says, "Then they came to Jericho, and Jesus and his disciples, together with a large crowd, they were leaving the city. And a blind man, Bartimaeus, which means son of Timaeus, was sitting by the roadside, and he was begging. When he heard that it was Jesus of Nazareth, he began to shout, 'Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. But many rebuked him. They told him to be quiet. Shh. But he shouted all the more, Son of David, have mercy on me. Jesus stopped. And he said, call him. So they called the blind man. Cheer up, get on your feet. He's calling you. Throwing his cloak aside, he jumped to his feet and came to Jesus. What do you want me to do for you? Jesus said. The blind man said, well, Rabbi, I want to see. Go, Jesus said. Your faith has healed you. Immediately he received his sight and he followed Jesus along the road. Super simple story. So beautiful. Let's unpack it now and layer it with multiple translations and let me give you a few more details to just hear the story again. And then we'll take a few takeaways from it. So back in 46, it says they came to Jericho. You know, you already know this, but Jericho is one of the oldest, most famous cities in the world. It's a Moscow, a Paris, it's a Tokyo, it's a Washington, D.C. It's a place with rich history, deep spiritual symbolism. As you know, Israel had entered the promised land through Jericho under the leadership of Joshua. So this is like, wow, this is a key city. And Jesus is now later in his ministry, he's on his way to Calvary, on his way to the cross. He has a mission. Jesus isn't just tinkering around. He's going somewhere intentionally, and he's leaving this very significant historical city to get to Jerusalem for the Passover, transforming the Passover meal into the communion meal and kind of forecasting his mission to save us through his redemption and sacrifice on the cross. So they're coming from Jericho, and he's leaving Jericho with his disciples, and it says a great crowd swirled around him, pilgrims on their way to Jerusalem for the Passover. So this term kind of means like this incredible swirling mass. I picture someone like Trump making his way through a crowd, or a rock star, or maybe a great athlete, you know, after an event. And everyone just kind of, oh, that's so-and-so, that's that amazing soccer player, or that's, you know, some super Celine Dion or something. And everyone's kind of buzzing about it. Or more significantly, it would be like you getting on the LA freeways on 4th of July weekend, you know, or something. It's like, what is going on here? I mean, well, you can get traffic on any day of the week here in LA. We want to make sure you're not alone and you have lots of people around you. But go on a Friday of a holiday weekend, Memorial Day weekend or something. It's like, what is going on? Well, everyone's going on vacation. This was a time everyone is going on pilgrimage for the Passover. So it's just swirling with people. Jesus already has a reputation. So when people see Jesus, it's like, it's a lot of commotion. So anyways, sitting by this dusty roadside, positioned, of course, strategically to catch the attention of all these passerbyers, was a blind man named Bartimaeus. If you know your Aramaic, bar means son of, and Timaeus, we get like Timothy from that. It means to honor or highly praised. Of course, Paul wrote Timothy in the first century. This is Bartimaeus. This is the son of a Timothy. Obviously known for his condition and known for his name here. He's there, and he's a blind guy. Now, sadly, the first century blindness was actually pretty common, not only because of disease. Not everyone had Kaiser Permanente, right? Covered California. They didn't all have easy doctors to get to. They couldn't easily get LASIK or treatments. So because of disease, malnutrition in the first century, sometimes contamination. a lot of people were struck with blindness, some from birth, but many of them got it just from the conditions were so poor. And unfortunately, there wasn't a lot you could do about it. And to add insult to injury is being blind. I mean, right? That's terrible. But a lot of people in the first century kind of judged you because they saw it as like maybe condemnation from God. Maybe you were a bad person. Maybe God's punishing you. So it's like, one, you can't see, and two, then people are cruel to you because they think you deserve it. So anyways, we have a guy who's really in a pickle here, Bartimaeus, and verse 47 says, hearing the crowd murmuring, like, that's Jesus, that's the carpenter's son, blah, 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 blah. Hearing that Jesus was passing by, Bartimaeus lifted his voice and began to cry out. To cry out means he's not being like polite or just trying to get attention. This is kind of raw desperation. This is someone who realizes, I'm not going to get help at the urgent care. This could be my only shot. I mean, this is the miracle man in my presence, within my proximity. So he cries out, Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me. This is a plea. It's a cry of faith. And by calling out Son of David, this is a guy who, I don't know his theological background, but that's the term for the promised Messiah. So he apparently was aware of this Jesus, and he actually attributes to him, I know who you are. Like, you're not just some dude. You're not just a public speaker. You're not just on a traveling speaking tour. You're the promised Messiah. So he calls out. Verse 48 says, many around him, that would be the crowd, the gatekeeper, all the social decorum police, they sternly rebuke him. The Greek implies they scolded him sharply. They silenced him. It means forcibly to be quiet. Shut your mouth. I don't know. Of course, I was never a parent like this, but I've heard sometimes parents have young kids, maybe at an event that you're supposed to be quiet. It could be a wedding or a funeral or something, and the kids sees a friend and they just, Mark, it's like, shh, and you just have to shush them, and they're talking. It's like, because we're embarrassed. And so we're like, muzzle them, like, of course, in just the most tactful ways, of course, right? No, it's like, shut up. Yeah, when you get the vocal cords, they can't say anything, so it's super helpful, right? But this term means like forcibly shush them. And so people are just trying to really kibosh this guy. But the opposition just made him cry louder. He didn't, get shy about it. He has this unrelenting urgency about him. And so he cries out again, Son of David, like, have mercy on me. And the Greek here is in the imperfect tense, which just means it's repeated and persistent. So it could have been, Son of David, have mercy on me, please. Son of David, Jesus, mercy. I need mercy. Like, he just wouldn't be silenced. As much as people like, shh, shh, shh. He goes for it. So verse 49 says, then Jesus stopped. This is like the presidential arcade, the cavalcade moving forward and stopping. I just picture, what's it called? The Beast, the black limousine, seeing someone on the side of the road and stopping, and then Trump getting out or something. Like, what? Like, what? Like, that's not protocol. For Jesus to be on mission, on his way to Jerusalem with a bunch of people, with a lot of crowd and hundreds of people, for him to stop, it's like, I don't even know how to file that. It's just crazy. This is the unstoppable savior with this marginalized dude that is like a nobody. He's like you and me, right? Like, we don't have any credentials. We don't deserve like a private one-on-one. with the God of the universe. But Jesus stops, and ironically, he commands the shushers to call him. Like all of you are trying to get him to be quiet. Can you tell him I want to talk to him? Like calling him. It's like, what? We're trying to stop him. It's like, no, I want you to go get him. So they go over to him, and one of them says, take courage, tharse. It means like, be of good cheer, take heart, maybe translate, I don't know, this is your lucky day, like, get up, he's calling you. And, they probably reluctantly did it, but it's like Jesus is watching him, go get him. It's like, he's calling you. He stopped. He wants to talk to you or something. So verse 50 picks up, Bartimaeus threw aside his cloak. It's an interesting addition to the story, but the cloak was like the most valuable thing a beggar would have, a blind person. It's not only like a security blanket, but it was like a coat. It was like a garment. And if you can picture maybe like at a swap meet or something, someone putting down like a towel or a blanket or a cloak, that would be the place people would throw their coins. Maybe see a musician at a shopping mall during Christmas, with a little cloak out or some little can. It's that's where you could put a coin. Like, thank you for playing your saxophone out here on a Christmas evening. So the cloak was super important, and throwing it aside, I don't know if it means he's throwing his security aside or his identity or his is looking for something new, but it's kind of a symbolic gesture of kind of radical abandonment of his old self. It kind of says to me too, like, if Jesus stopped and someone says he's calling you, it's almost like an act of faith. Like, I'm not going to need this then. Jesus is calling me. I'm going to go see the Savior, the miracle worker of the world. I'm done with this. Like, I think he must have thought something's going to happen. As we picked up the story, it says he leapt to his feet, anapadeus, it means springs to his feet, and he comes to Jesus. I don't know if he was guided by the sound or if someone took him by the arm, but he comes to Jesus, and Jesus asks him, what do you want me to do for you? This is super interesting to me because there's a lot of times Jesus heals people, but he asks them what they want. There's the guy at the pools of Siloam, he was a beggar, and he asked them, like, do you want to be healed? And he'd be like, well, of course. Well, it's not of course. If Jesus heals the guy, then you don't get to do your pity party here and beg and do your little can and look sad, and you're going to have to get a job like the rest of us. You're going to have to activate your life. You're going to have to take responsibility, So Jesus actually asked people, like, I want a public confession of, like, what do you want? And are you willing to, like, activate it? You've probably heard this, as I have, lots of church people. I wish this happened. I wish that happened. It's like, yeah, but if that happened, then you'd have to take responsibility for your life, and you wouldn't be able to come here every Sunday and whine about your pathetic life and how hard it is. Like, if God actually healed you and gave you that job and that relationship worked out, then what are you going to do? Because you made it a full-time profession for you to, like, be the sad person, the church hurt, it's like, what? Like, who hasn't gotten hurt at church? There's people at church. Hello. There's your street hurt, and there's your business hurt, and, like, you're going to get hurt everywhere, people. Like, what are you, living in Eden? Like, no, you're not in Eden anymore. Stuff's going to happen. So he asks him, what do you want me to do? And he responds, Rabboni, which is translated here rabbi, but it's really more than like master or teacher. Rabboni is like my favorite teacher. It's like Rabboni, like my personal master, like the teacher I trust. So it's kind of an endearing response. Rabboni, he says, is so intimate. I want to see. I want my eyes to work, you know. I want there to be light. And Jesus said, go. Your faith has healed you. Your faith, sozo, a Greek word here, it really means save or rescue. Your faith has saved you. It's rescued you. Not only do you have sight, but you have like spiritual insight now. And so instantly, his eyes are flooded with light and he has perfect clarity of vision, and he could see and face the one that he had already recognized with the eyes of his heart. But immediately, without like hesitation, he followed Jesus along the road, which is super fun for me too, because I don't know, I just expect when someone gets their eyes healed and they could see, I just picture running off and wanting to go tell my family and friends, which is, so he got his eyes healed and he was super happy and like went and, went home and shocked people. But it says, no, he followed him. What? What does that mean? Well, he didn't just take a miracle and then like get on with his life. He followed Jesus regularly. It means he continued now in the procession on the way to Jerusalem for that upper room discourse, for that final, crucifixion, and perhaps with that apostolic time of the resurrection and everything. Like he became a follower, which is a very truncated, simple way for Mark to say that without a lot of words. But he's like, he got his eyesight and he became a follower. He didn't just get sight and he was pumped. He went from sitting and begging to like seeing and now serving. Super transformation, which is super, super fun. So I don't know. What do you think? Did you like this story? It's cool, right? Bartimaeus, like add that. That's like a good dog name or something, right? Bartimaeus, come over here, unless it's a blind dog. And then, then you got to cry out to mercy to the Lord because you need healing. So what are some takeaways? I'm sure you have your own. I took a few notes myself of, number one, I just said, I hope that, I'm open to being desperate enough that I would be undignified if I needed it, that we would be humble enough and know our need badly enough to break some social rules if we had to, and ignore the shushers in our life to try to get to Jesus, and Bartimaeus is a great example of just feisty and perseverance and stuff. And, I want to be a person like that. Some of you know, like I traveled with Chandler to Phoenix on a truck. She moved to Phoenix this weekend, so I drove a U-Haul, little 15-footer, and with all the stuff we could contribute, to her new adventure. And we had already signed documents on Friday before we left for the weekend and thought everything was set, but we got to Phoenix, Goodyear, Arizona, and they don't give her the key. They're not going to let her move in. They're like, well, your dad is kind of a co-signer with you, so we have to do a criminal check on him, which is smart. If you saw me, you'd go, yeah, we should do that. But California can take a while to do that. So here they had all my bank statements and all hers, and we'd sign things, and we had the cashier's check from Wells Fargo. But they're like, we'll hopefully it'll come in later today and we'll give you the keys. So Monday we're like, well, let's go to Walmart. We'll get you some waters, and kind of used our time wisely. But I'm flying out Monday night, supposedly. But Monday comes and goes and no key. So I'm like, okay, I'm on Southwest, so I can change my flight. So I'll switch it to Tuesday. I'll just stay an extra day. So next day, we go in the morning, like we're ready. And they're like, I'm sorry, we still, you haven't been clear, Dr. Dave, I'm like, come on, I look like a nice guy. Come on, right? Tuesday comes and goes, no key. So I fly out Tuesday night. I have a son there, Chris. So I'm like, Chris, do you mind emptying an entire truck for me and returning a U-Haul for me and helping your sister? He's like, I got you. But I say that to say I had gone in, I did it. I was dramatic. I had the histrionics. I threw myself on the floor. I got on my knees. I'm like, I'm a father. I can't leave my daughter. Like, how's she going to empty a truck? I don't mind going to an undignified place. I was ready to cry. But I was with Cruella DeVille. So she was like, sorry, Mr. White, we have policies. You can break those rules. Like, come on, let us move in. So I begged and tried, but it didn't work this time. But the scriptures say a lot of times it does. Ironically, I was on a flight, the next night, and it was full flight. So a gal's like, I have an interview. I got to get on this flight. And they're like, we're sorry, we don't have it. We oversold. So she's hanging there and she's telling the airline people, like, I got to get on. Like, can I sit in the jumper seat? And I was like, good for her. Like, she's going for it. But I'm like, I just got rejected. So it happens, But right before they shut the doors, somehow there was one seat. I don't know if someone got off or something. They're like, we'll take you. And I was like, good for her. She stuck around. She hung in there. She already got like multiple no's. Shh, it's a full flight, But it worked out. And that's what we need in life. I was in the emergency room, with our kids, and I've been there more times than I prefer. One time I actually went out in the garage and somehow hit a frame and it broke glass and a piece of glass went through my leg. Not that you need all the gory details, but it was kind of cool, like one of those kind of criminal movies with the glass hanging out the front and the back. And I didn't want to pull it out because I'm like, I'm going to, lose consciousness. And so I'm in the emergency waiting room with the glass there. And I'm like, they're going to bump me up. Clearly you can see like I need help like right away. But no, I sat there, I think an hour until they called my name. It was nutso. But I was in the emergency room once and a father had a young kid that was super injured and sick and failing. And they just were like, I'm sorry, we'll get to you as soon as we can. And I'm like, I've been there before. But this guy was cool because he just picked his son up and just went through the doors that say, employees only and stuff. And I could hear him in the back, like, I need help. Like, I need help right now, and he never came back out. So I don't know if they found him help, but sometimes you need to like get loud. It's like, I'm not going to sit in the waiting room. Like, I can do the glass, but I'm not going to see my son or daughter like pass because we sat here in line waiting for you to check insurance or whatever. He just went in the back, like, I'm going to have to break a few rules, get a little bit louder and get the attention we need. And I think he got it. And Bartimaeus was like that. There are just times we're just too desperate. We have to shout. We have to get out there. I was hearing the story some years back of a gal. She was a widow, super cool gal, 82 years old, but she was saying she went to a senior event where they have, bingo and a little bit of a dance and stuff. Super shy gal. But she's like, you know what? I just decided I was going to ask someone to dance, and I got up and I did it. And I'm like, what? You're crazy. And we met for lunch. And I'm like, go girl. Like, don't slow down the widow, but it was cool. Like I went for it. I got a little bit louder. I was a little bit bolder than normal. Here at the bridge, I've heard some stories recently too of people that were like, they have adult children. We have 5 of those. Sometimes the adult children are a little more estranged than you prefer, or you don't connect as well as you want, or there's some breach that's happened. And this person was saying that there was 11 years they hadn't really talked to he hadn't talked to his adult son really. And, but this last Christmas, he decided to call again, and his son answered, and they actually had a conversation, and then they actually met for a meal, and he was just super happy. Like, I don't know, I think we're reconnecting. And I'm like, after 11 years of no response and a little bit of like, don't need you, don't want to talk to you, like whatever, like, I love the persistence in that, which is I could get rejected again. Jesus could have said no, but even Bartimaeus would have said, but I tried. If Jesus, he didn't have to stop. He could have kept going, but it's not because I didn't shout out. Like I went for it. And, for you and for that's what we need. I remember at Heart High back in the day, that was in the days when you did everything. I played basketball and tried to get involved in choir and sound vibrations. Remember sound vibrations coming at you? Okay, forget it, whatever. It was cool back in the day. You remember, thank you. With the platform shoes and the 1970s, I don't know, leisure suits, whatever, it was nutty. I blocked it out, but we had a musical at the school, and I don't sing, so I didn't try out for it. But there was a guy there that stutters, and he told me, I'm gonna go for it. I'm like, that's awesome, like. And of course, he didn't get picked for a musical part or anything, but they actually put him in the musical, and he got a significant role in it. And I was like, dude, that stuck with me. Like, you didn't have a shot at getting a musical part, but you went for it, and they honored it. And it's touching to me because we just need that. We need to go for it, whether it's in an emergency room, like I'm going in the back, I'm going straight to the doctors, like we need help. This guy, Bartimaeus, I think really did a good job of giving that to us. A few other notes I took is don't let the crowd shut you down. I just picture that dad, I just picture everyone going, you can't go back there, sir. I'm sorry, that's for employees only. And it's like, whatever, it's like, I'm desperate enough, like I'm going for it. And sadly enough, my wife has seen me do that many times in restaurants or something. They're like, could I, instead of that, could I get the salad on the side? And they're like, I'm sorry, no exchanges. Like, no, we don't do that. And then my wife's like, shh, you asked. And then, but I'm not done. I'm like, so the waitress comes back, like, there's no way to exchange the corn or the mashed potatoes for a salad or something. No, I'm sorry, we don't do that. Do you have a manager here? My wife's like, shh. Like, I'm going for it. This is salad, So sometimes the persistence pays off, sometimes it doesn't. But Bartimaeus wasn't going to let opposition or ridicule shut him down. And I'm like, that's what we need. The world's going to say, be quiet. I'm like, get louder and see how far you get, and if you don't get there, at least you have a sense. I did the best I could. I think here, one of my takeaways is throw off the cloak, Dave. Get rid of the old stuff. Whatever you're counting on for your identity and stuff, go to Jesus. Like, you don't need it. He's the guy you need. Get rid of it. And then just the mind-blowing reality in this story that Jesus would stop for one person of no significance. This is not a donor, like, oh yeah, you've been funding my ministry tour. Of course I need to stop for this benefactor. No, he's nobody. He has nothing to offer you. The fact that he would stop for Bartimaeus, then he would stop for you. God would stop for you. He's not too busy. He's omniscient. He's omnipresent. He's not corporal anymore, where he's embodied in one place at one time. He can be with you anytime. He'll stop anytime to hear your prayers, your thoughts, your needs. You don't have to do what I did when I was younger. I know you're busy, Lord, but he's not too busy. So it's just mind-blowing that he cares. And here I just was reminded, let God transform you. I want him to transform me. He just didn't go from begging to, getting healed. He went to actually following Christ, which I love. And then the final takeaway for me was just have the faith that is bold. Have a faith that will not be silenced. Have a faith that won't shut up. Be persistent and unashamed and refuse to, let the world cancel you. And kind of like Jesus' story in Luke 18 of the persistent widow, be persistent. I think this year I say, let's turn up the volume of our faith. amplify the cries, the prayers, the testimony that we have. It's not much, but whatever we have, it's like, get it out there. This is not the time, in my opinion, to tone it down. Sometimes, I'll be at a pro-life event or a rally. I've been more involved in that, feeling a little more conviction to be involved. And a lot of times people will be like, I think you guys are being too aggressive. You're too assertive. What? We're sacrificing children every day in this country. No, this is not the time to tone it down. It's the time to scream a little bit, like, you quit killing babies, the most vulnerable, whatever, and we all have different issues and things that we're passionate about, but it's like, no, I'm not going to be shushed. I'm going to say something. Our souls need saturation. They need a vibrancy. This is not the time to be dim and beige and grayscale. It's like, I'm over it. Say goodbye to subtle. Subtle is not going to get it done, and neither is nice. It's the hour for high chroma living, faith with spark and fire and flare. I don't know if I want to say be loud and proud. I don't know, but, shut up? No. Show up? Yes. We're going to show up. I don't know what the Lord will do with it. I'm no significant person on the planet, but I am not going to be silenced. And I'll take the consequences that go with that. And I'll sleep well at night, because Bartimaeus wasn't silent and God honored it. So I say, let's go. Let's get loud. Amen? Amen.